Gabby Pritts, welcome to Unbroken.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's so great to have you here. So let's begin. Why don't you tell us about a little bit about your journey, your background, and how you came across the three principles?
So, my background, you can go in so many ways as far as someone's background is concerned, but I guess for the purpose of this podcast and the people maybe listening to it, my background is just I guess your typical um, child that grew up with a certain set of ideas of how things should be, and um, coming to realize that sometimes, and a lot of times, things aren't the way that you thought they were going to be, and just trying to figure it all out. So, just to get a little bit more into it, I guess is I grew up in a not so typical home. I grew up with a couple of aunts. My mom was there, and a couple of brothers. My mom remarried eventually, and there was a lot of step siblings, and that didn't work out too well. So I went back with my aunts and was raised by them. My mom was still in the picture, but she wasn't living with me. So at an early age, I didn't have her, but I did have a lot of love. I will say that. So I still had my brothers, I had my aunts, and growing up Roman Catholic, practicing Roman Catholic, there was a lot of rule and regulation involved in the home, and so things were the way they needed to be because that's the way things were, and you don't question things. Well, I questioned a lot of things early on, and I challenged my I challenged my adults. I challenged ideas. I challenged everything. I was a kid that always asked why and would not stop asking why. So eventually, still having that in me, that innate regulated way of being. I always strive to do the best. I always wanted to do the best. I always wanted to be as perfect as possible, and always falling short, because once you reach that perfection, you always want more. You want something different, and you just continue to fall short. So and early on, just I always got praised for being a pretty girl, and just being good at sports, and just so those are the things that I focused on. Okay, so if someone doesn't say that I'm pretty, or someone doesn't say that I did well in this particular game or whatever, I felt bad, and I was always looking at how I could better myself, or what I did wrong, and shoulda, coulda, woulda, and so that morphed into just trying to be perfect, like I just mentioned, just all the time. And so one of the ways that I could be perfect, and for me, perfect also dealt with controlling things. And one of the ways that I could be perfect was to control what I did with a rigid schedule, and including exercise, and what I ate. So that led to a lot of disordered eating, and you can find my story on my website, gabbypritts.com. And so that just unraveled, and just began a journey of how to eat perfect, how to do things, how to have a perfect schedule, how to be perfectly organized. So that was my jam. That's what I did day in and day out. I woke up, what is my schedule like? What am I going to eat? That type of thing. And it's like rinse, repeat, and do again. So I got tired. I just got worn out, and I just got so tired. I just did not know what to do not to be tired. And then there was times I was tired and I was just dragging. And then I would kind of get a second wind and I was okay for a while. And then I would just get tired again. And then, and life is just happening while I'm trying to control this. And, I'm going through, I went through a divorce. I went through, that was tumultuous. I was, a single mom for a while. That I had financial hardships. So all of this was going on, and I was still in my brain thinking, what am I going to eat? What's my schedule look like? What am I going to do for exercise? How many calories? But that was at the forefront, and all these, like buildings were burning like around me and things like that. And I was like, this is just weird. And why am I like this? And then, it's just things were just out of control. So I had a lot of disorder, and I had what I call disordered eating, and for a good while. And to be honest with you, that didn't happen until adulthood. And like, I guess I must have been in my 30s or something, maybe my 40s. I don't even remember. There was always a tinge of it or a theme of the disordered eating, but not really, but it really manifested itself like later in life for me. Not your typical teenage eating disordered girl, so then I'm like, man, I can't even do that right. I can't even have like disordered eating at the right age. Like, what's wrong with me? It was just a constant just beating myself up about this, that, and the other. And it just that was just in a nutshell, that's just been my journey. Like, there's no one specific thing. I've just always continuously beat myself up. I don't know if I'm resonating with too many people. I know I must be with some, because I know I'm not the only one. But I don't know if there's anything specific that you wanted me to talk about.
Well, I always think it's so interesting. Like you were doing this behavior, the sort of controlling your schedule, controlling your food in order to be safe, I guess would be a good way to encapsulate it. And then there is a part of you that's aware that there's another way to experience life. And that awareness is just innate within you. The word you used was, this is weird, So there's part of you that just knows that there's another, perhaps more free way to go about living your life. I think that's fascinating.
Yes. So that is so true, from even as a child and questioning why. So even from that point in time, just questioning why, already at that point in time, I knew something that something wasn't necessarily true for others that was true for me. So I questioned why. So right there, that I was bucking the, is this true? Why is this true? Or what's going on? I was curious at a young age. And that curiosity did stay with me throughout. And then I became aware of the curiosity. I became aware of that curiosity, and I became aware that that curiosity is my friend. And that there is, and I mean what I mean by friend is that curiosity is a safe place. It's not a bad place. So back in, let's see. So controlling my eating and my exercise, I was always, I did group fitness classes. I taught group fitness classes at one point in time in my life. I was always a gym rat most of my life. So I always came across ladies that were asking me, hey, have you heard about this diet? Or what do you do for this? And what they were asking me for my opinion or my advice and this, that, and the other. So I would always try like the fad diets just to see how I would do. And, and naturally I would fast. I was just I just got into, like I said, a very rigid schedule. So I like planning my meals, and then I would just fast until the next point in time of my day that I could eat. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was going to eat at this time. If I was hungry, not hungry, whatever, it was at this time. So the keto diet, and I don't mean to, I shouldn't even say keto diet, a diet, whatever, an idea, it could be any diet.
Mhm.
It came along and I was like, yeah, I think I could do this one because I naturally fast, and, it fits right into my lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. So I got into the keto diet and started looking at people who did this diet. I became part of a group. And mind you, at this time, I was plant-based. So with the keto diet, if some of you are familiar with it, it's all like it's all animal fat, and mostly animal fat and animal protein, and so I wasn't eating any animal at all at that point in time, and I was plant-based because of health reasons, and not a vegan, but anyway. So there wasn't really too much option for me to eat. So I ended up losing a lot of weight, where there was a big concern in my family where they intervened, and they said, you need to stop. And mind you, before that point in time, I had already been in therapy a few years before to gain some weight. I was an outpatient at a rehab center, and I did that for a couple of months. And I did gain some weight, and then I just lost it again because I just went back to what I was used to doing. And so, and I'll touch on that, because in that rehab center, I did meet a therapist who was very, I should say, new age, for lack of a better word. He tried therapy that was non-traditional. And he did Byron Katie, from Eckhart Tolle. He recommended a lot of people that authors that come from this understanding. And he was just short of Sydney Banks, you know what I mean? And so anyway, so that happened right before when I really lost a lot of weight, and there was a family intervention. And so I realized I was just very weak, and I realized my family really there was a big concern there, and I just wanted to I wanted to live. I was like, this is dumb, like this is I can't be doing this. And that's when I started to really realize, like I've got this programming going on over here, but then I have something over here telling me, no, you want to live, so you need to stop that programming over there. You need to get with another program, or something needs to shift, something needs to be different. Well, it was this girl that I was following who did the keto diet, and she kind of had a breakdown, and she said, I'm done. And so I was like, and she had this one guest on her show where the guest talked about binging, and it's normal to binge. And I was like, wait, what? It's normal to binge? Wait, what? Like, she was talking about how you can binge and it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's your body's perfectly built for binging. Like, you can do it. And I was just so confused. I was like, okay, I'm trying to gain weight. I don't want to be binging, although I do want to binge, because I did have binging tendencies. I did have bulimic type of tendencies, whether it was I would overeat and I would exercise it off, or I would throw it up off, or whatever, both, I was just like, and then, or I would just starve it off, so I was just all over the spectrum of the disordered eating. So I was like, no, that's not true. And so I'm like, but wait a minute, she's saying that it is true. So then maybe it is. And so that little girl with a curiosity as to why is she saying this? And why might this be true? So I started following her, and through her, I listened to one of her podcasts where she had Dr. Amy Johnson, A Little School of Big Change, and she wrote the little book of Big Change. And so I bought her book. I didn't really get it. I was like, okay, whatever. But I really understood her I think on her website, she has some videos as to an introduction, and she touches on the three principles a bit. So the three principles I kind of came to on a back end from Dr. Amy Johnson. I really haven't gotten too involved with the three principles, but I do know, it's thought, mind, and consciousness. It's all the same. It's all the same understanding. So it was through the Little School of Big Change. In that program, I enrolled in maybe 2017, I think it was. I enrolled in the program. I did the 6-week course, and then I really understood. Oh my gosh, there is so much that this is like, I was so right when I was a little girl.
Mm.
When I was a kid, I was just so spot on. I was so curious, and I asked why, and I took things very light, and I just took things as they were. And it just brought me full circle back to when I was a kid. And I've kind of pretty much, not every single moment of every single day, but I've pretty much kind of been that way. I've had that already. And that curiosity, like I said, has just been a place where I just I find to be safe.
Mhm.
I'm back home. I'm back.
Mm.
So I don't know if that answers the question that was that was, but yeah,
Yep.
it's just questioning. It's questioning things, and if you question something, it might not be true,
Mhm.
and it probably, and what is true.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I did a lot of that with when I was in therapy, when I was in the outpatient therapy. Um, we did Byron Katie's work. So we would pull out the worksheets and everything. Unbeknownst to me, what I was doing, I was going through the motions and I was understanding it. But now later on, I can go back to it and I can say, oh wow, like now I just see it so differently,
Mm.
It's like it's like what's the saying that nothing's changed but everything's different. I think it's the
Mhm.
way it goes. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And so as you gradually began to lean into your curiosity
Mhm.
and and when you were enrolled in the Little School of Big Change, how did is there anything you can point to that you started to see that you hadn't seen clearly before?
Um, well, as an adult, I had it's like layers of just uh, different filters just mucked up what I had already been seeing as a kid.
Mm.
Was just being aware, the awareness of where my mind goes and where my thoughts go, and that's just perfectly natural to have different types of thoughts and to have different thinking uh, and just to question things. It's perfectly natural. It was the conditioning. It was the conditioning that I had of things had to be a certain way, um, because I already had a few strikes, quote unquote, against me. You coming from, I guess, somewhat of a broken family. I really don't want to say a broken family because, like I said, I had a lot of love growing up. But I didn't have the traditional mom and dad, and I had my aunts and I had my brothers, and that was it. And we were just kind of making our way and doing what we need to do. My aunts did have a lot of structure around how things should be and how things should go. So that's what I went by, and good girls do this, and I need to be proper about things and just you know just try to be as perfect as I could with anything and everything I could that came my way.
Mhm.
Um, that I just had a lot of filter, like I said, that mucked up um, my natural state, my natural curiosity, and that awareness of, hey, it's okay to be different and to have different thoughts, life is not going to be so perfect. Or what you consider to be perfect. So like, what is perfection?
Mhm.
Yeah, what is
Yeah.
perfect? Yeah.
Yeah. Angus and Rohini Ross use the term rewilding, bringing something
Yes.
back to its natural state. And yeah, I'm being reminded of that as you speak.
Yes. I love that. I did listen to their podcast. I don't know if they're still doing the rewilding podcast. I'm not too sure, but
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
did listen. Yeah, but I really enjoyed them. And I've been on a phone call with Rohini, and she's wonderful. And yes, just being in that natural state, because that's all there really is.
Hmm.
It's simple, 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 simple.
Hmm.
And we tend to pick up that simplicity, and we tend to run with it and try to go somewhere with it. And it's like, no, you know, yeah. And
Yeah.
what's fun now, I have to say, is that when I do have thoughts that run wild and that just go off, I can come back and say, wow, wasn't that wild? That's just crazy. That was just like, wow. It's kind of like, when you've had a night where you wake up and you're remembering your dreams, and like random people have come and popped into your dreams, and then you wake up and you're like, wow, that was weird. Like, why did that happen? It's this, I consider my daydreaming the same thing as my night dreaming. My thoughts is the same thing as my dreams.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's the way I see them now. I see them as just, you know, running wild and just being okay with it, and just coming back and saying, that's interesting.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved what you said about you had filters,
Mhm. Mhm.
over the innately well and, wild part of yourself. And I just see this little stack of dirty
Mhm.
filters and you kind of pulling them
Yes.
back one at a time. Yeah, I love that visual. And it was just, and
Yeah.
all that thinking, I guess, about is what the filters are about trying to be perfect and trying to control everything in a way. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to put a filter on, there's nothing wrong. Filters are like a tool. So your thoughts in your mind, and what I consider, when I say mind, I don't mean it as like universal mind. Like, I think the three principles is, universal mind is like the isness. But for me, the mind is, I can kind of consider like the thought, I guess, the little mind or something. These thoughts are like filters. You can put in a filter, and if it's a tool that you can use, great, use it, have fun with it, you know, and then that you can take it out, throw it away.
Mhm.
I mean, if it kind of lingers and stays, just know that it's a remnant, and it's eventually gonna fall off on its own.
Mhm.
That filter that is, some people equate it to clouds going by, or the weather going by. It's gonna go. It's gonna, and then you've got some filters that you put on, and you're like, oh, this is so uncomfortable, or I don't like this. I don't want to be here. I don't like it. And talk about, sometimes um, these thoughts, these filters can manifest themselves physically. And boy, do you feel them. I
Mhm.
mean, like, boy, do you feel them. It feels
Mhm.
like a tornado, or a major hurricane is going on, and you can feel it physically, physiologically in your body. And I've gone through some since last year. I've had quite a few surgeries. Some were planned and some were not planned. And having discomfort physically, and some people call it pain. And yes, I mean, some things were very painful, some were very uncomfortable. Either way, I just knew that these were things that my body had to go through, and that eventually they were going to dissipate. And if they didn't dissipate, then I knew that my body was going to take care of itself, in the sense of, I was going to end up getting more help with this problem, or they were going to go on their own type of thing. I don't know how else to explain it,
Mm-hmm.
but to kind of lean into it and to be with it, and to continue. That's the physical pain that I had. And the thoughts are the same way too, I think, is that you kind of lean into them if you can, and they continue to go, and sometimes they get lost, and sometimes they come back, and they get you, and then they go away. Yeah, very fickle. The mind is very
Yes.
fickle, very fickle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you finished the Little School of Big Change, then you were drawn into the facilitator training with Amy Johnson.
Yes. So I went to school, Little Big Change, and I was a wallflower. I didn't really actively participate in the conversations. There were so many of us. I wasn't the only one, but I remember right before we would have the group calls, I would get ready, and I would do my hair and this, that, and the other, and I'd be like, okay, maybe I'll say something, and then I would just not say anything. And so finally, I started speaking up a little bit, and then sometimes I find myself, like in this conversation I'm having with you right now, sometimes I find myself word tripping and not knowing, like, well, how do I say this? Or I really want them to understand this, but you know what? I mean, the person hearing is gonna get whatever they get out of what you say. That's not on the person speaking. So I just said, I really want to try to express myself better with this understanding so I can tell my family and my friends about it. So when I heard about Amy's coaching program, I decided to join. Um, and I just thought this would just be a different perspective of what was going on in Little School of Big Change, besides the community group calls. So this is it's like a spin-off community, right? The coaching community is a spin-off community of the graduate of the other community that we had going on. So it was more intimate. It was very we had intensives, which I really enjoyed. And I was starstruck with Dr. Johnson, with Amy Johnson. She's just so giving, and just listening to her over and over, in her group calls for a few years, and then having her ear was just like, oh my gosh, it's just amazing.
Mhm.
Um, so yes, I did the course last year in 2022. And I graduated in June. We had a gathering in Chicago, which I went to and got to meet some other coaches live. And that was a treat. I don't have too many friends here. I don't have any friends that are physically with me that have that. I shouldn't say have this understanding, but where we talk about this understanding, it's usually friends that I like. Now I consider you my friend. So it's usually through Zoom, or it's just online or on the phone.
Mhm.
Um, so it was just really nice connecting with them live. So after the program, I decided to create an LLC, and just put myself out there as a change coach, did a website and everything. I've been doing free coaching, and that's a given, just to get to know people and to see if I'm a good fit for them. I do coaching. I have packages, things like that. I also do other types of coaching where I go out for walks with some people around here, especially like the elderly. I help out with a program where we help with it's a senior assistance program that helps with running errands for them and driving them to medical appointments and grocery shopping. So I get to know a lot of the seniors intimately, and just what's going on with them, and I get to practice a little coaching with them, so that it's really nice. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And
Mhm.
and so when you're working with someone who has experienced disordered eating,
Okay.
where would you begin if they've never heard of this understanding, where would you begin to try to introduce it to them? I guess it depends on the person, so that's kind of an unfair question, but
Right. No, I know, I understand. So, and right, um right when you said it depends on the person, it totally depends on where their mind is, for lack of a better word, at that point in time, right? So my job when I do any coaching with anyone, whether it's a senior or someone that's struggling, because I did work with some that were having issues with it, eating disordered eating. It's just having a place to hold them. It's just having a place to say, hey, okay, tell me, what was that binge? Tell me about the binge. And so that's the same place that I was held when I started listening to Amy Johnson, and the other girl's name I think was Stephanie Daubier. I'm not too sure. I think she's Canadian. And I think her program was called Beyond the Food or something like that. I know you have something similar too, or you had a book or something like that, but
Yeah, it's not about the food. Yeah.
not about the food. And hers was Beyond the Food. And I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if she's still around with her podcast now, but anyway, it was that place to hold and say, it's okay. Like, and just be curious about them and what they're thinking and what they're going through, and just holding them and saying, hey, like, let's let's explore this. Let's be curious about it. Let's question it. Is it true? Is it really true? Is it really true that you're no good because you ate an extra donut? Or is it really true that you're not perfect because you had a whole large pizza by yourself? Is that true? And so just questioning and exploring themselves back to home. I call home, and back to their pure essence. And having that connection with them, because I truly believe that we all have it in us, right? And it's just a matter of uncovering it. It's not really so much, it's not a discovery. You're not discovering it because it's not new. It's there with you already. You're just uncovering it. And we all have it there. We all have it in us. It's that common thread. And I find that common thread with like people in this understanding, like with you and with people in the Little School of Big Change, and Byron Katie's people, whatever, I find it with people that have this understanding, 3 principles, etc. Those that come questioning and with grief and not knowing that they have it, I feel like I'm here to help them point the way to uncovering that in them. And I've seen it, and that's just the best thing ever, to see someone uncover it and say, oh my gosh, like, wow. This was just all a story. Like, they woke up from a dream, like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember back in was it the 80s? Oh, wait, you're in Canada. Well, in Canada, I must have gotten it. So there was that primetime show called Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the whole thing was like, for like the last couple of seasons, I think it was Who Shot JR?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Who shot JR? And this guy, was it this person? And they played out the scenarios and whatever. It was a big drama for a couple of seasons. And then at the end, what was it? It was a dream.
It was somebody's dream, right?
He had never gotten shot.
Yes.
So it's just like, we're just so hard on ourselves. It's the same thing, I think, and with our lives, it's like, it's just a big dream, and we wake up, it's like, oh, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to your filter metaphor, it's sort of helping people, it seems, to first see that the filters even exist. When we're not aware that they're even there, we think that what we're seeing and experiencing is real. And then, so when we even discover that, oh, there's something there in front of my understanding, this filter that's all dirty, and then beginning to kind of pull them away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And even, yeah, begin pulling them away and even having fun with them.
Mm,
If I can
mm,
see that. Because even though I don't, I still kind of, going back to the disordered eating, I still kind of eat the same in a sense, but
mhm,
without any, um, I like to eat. I like good food. I like to make my own food. Um, I am picky, so to speak. I guess, I don't like going to just any restaurant, but that's just, and I don't, before I used to kind of tell myself, well, you should be able to just go into a restaurant and eat like everybody else. Why not? And it's like, no, I like to take care of myself and there's nothing wrong with that.
mhm,
There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't want to eat that. Or, um, that was a thing trying to get over in my recovery, trying to be normal and eat like everybody else. And I just couldn't sometimes bring myself to do it. And then I would beat myself up for that. And it's like, no, well, that's okay. You're trying to take care of yourself and that's okay. So I'm not saying gosh, I don't want to say rigid eating is, okay or not okay or whatever. What I'm trying to say is if that filter, that tool is working for you, use it,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, use it. But that's all it is. It's a tool.
Yes. And I really like hearing too that you're just giving yourself permission to be who you are.
Right.
You're letting the rules fall by the wayside, the rules, quote unquote, as though there's, some right way to be. But
Mhm.
yeah, just letting that fall away and doing what feels good to you.
Right. The rules are that there are no rules.
Right.
That's the rule.
Mm-hmm.
The rules is that there are no rules because what's working for me right now as my body ages and as I change may not work for me later on.
Mm-hmm.
I was plant-based for 6, 7 years,
Mm-hmm.
no animal product or anything like because I was afraid that I was going to have a cardiac arrest or, something was going to happen to me because it runs in my family, high cholesterol, this and the other. So that's why I was plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when I went to a different cardiologist and I started the keto diet that, I started eating all this meat and my body went like haywire and this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, it's just my body reacting to what it is that I'm putting in it. And that's just the way I kind of see it now. It's like, what works right now may not work later on, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So as we're just about to wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't touched on today?
Um, there's always something to share. I think that the thing, if there is such a thing, right, to take away from this conversation, is to always be curious and always question
Mm,
and always know that if there's a question involved, it's probably not true.
mm, mm,
If there's a question involved, if there's curiosity involved, it's probably not true, and that's okay.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so great. Well, this has
Mhm.
been lovely, Gabby. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find out more about you and your work?
Sure. Okay, yeah. So my website is gabbypritts.com, GABBYPRITTS.com. And there's a tab where you can send me an email or you can also schedule a conversation with me if you'd like. And it's always for free. And I love being in this conversation and this talk. I do practice coaching, but like I said, I love being in this conversation with anyone, anytime. So if anything that I talked about today interests you, if you want to talk more about the 3 principles, this understanding, the Little School of Big Change, the work by Byron Katie, anything that has to do with you being curious about whatever's going on with you, whatever habit or thought may be bothering you, I'd love to talk to you. And so you can definitely schedule something with me on my website.
Perfect. Great. So I will put a link in the show notes to your website so people can find that easily. And thank you for being here with me today. It was lovely chatting with you.
It was it was a true joy just chatting with you. I love talking about this stuff.
Oh, good. Thanks. Me too. Take care, Gabby.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.